noon, you can save on every item in the store. We guaranteed these companies we'd sell everything they sent us regardless of cost or loss. Up to 70% off on some of the biggest name brands in the business. Truckload after truckload at pennies on the dollar. No reasonable offers refused. Only at Valley Furniture Warehouse, both locations. Time is running short. Tomorrow at 12 noon, don't miss it.
Greg Gumbel in New York, the ACC Championship game, Duke by 3 with seconds to play. The tip-in by Sheldon Williams seals it for the Blue Devils. They win the ACC Championship 69-64 over Georgia Tech. Back to Chicago.
CBS Sports coverage of the Big Ten Conference Tournament is sponsored by Chevy and American Revolution, supercharged for 2005. Powerade. And by UPS. What can Brown do for you?
All right, we welcome you back to Chicago with Bo Ryan in his 4th season. He was the coach of the year in this league in both 2002 and 03. And here are the lineups. Let's take a look as State Farm covers the court. There's Mike Wilkinson. He's all Big Ten. Tucker, the hero yesterday. His second buzzer beater, by the way, in March the 1st. He ended a game against Indiana with a winning shot. And there's Bruce Weber, this year's coach of the year. But the story, of course, this week in Chicago, all about Coach Weber and the loss of his mother Friday here in Chicago. And his lineup, as Billy, you alluded to, it's the same lineup for the Illini as a year ago. Hightower, Hillary, and Gray, the officials, as we'll settle things out in the Big Ten.
Well, if we had Devin Harris back, we'd have just almost a complete repeat of last year.
One thing about the Badgers now, they'll go with the smaller lineup. Cameron Taylor with the ball right now starts instead of Andreas Helmet. He normally starts in the pivot. It's Tucker trying to create, as he so often does, and Powell pulls it down.
That'll be a tough matchup for Augustine because Tucker is very quick, penetrates well from outside, and with nobody in the low post, Augustine will have to go out and play him almost as a guard.
Billy, these teams met twice during the regular season. Illinois won both occasions, including the one up in Madison that ended Wisconsin's home win streak of 38 straight victories.
And in doing that, they scored 14 of the last 15 points to pull that game out.
They won by 10 and 11 in the 2 games. Illinois. So a turnover committed by the Fighting Illini on their first trip. They had a number of turnovers yesterday, forced by a feisty Minnesota squad. And Wilkinson comes up short with a little flip move.
2 good looks, though, that Wisconsin's had early in this ball game.
Head with the 3.
Kind of guided that shot.
And the Illini's top score wide of the mark.
It's kind of interesting, Morley having those great games off the bench, not in the starting lineup. Nothing unusual for Bo Ryan. He likes to bring him off the bench. Double down by Augustine. Somebody's open, and there he is.
It's Chambliss. Wilkinson found him. And the first 2 to the Badger.
Well, a 5th-year senior who's been outstanding in his career in the Big Ten doing a job. And here's that strength of Williams on the drive.
Pulled down by Wilkinson.
Williams, a very powerful lead guard. Doesn't mind taking it in traffic. Normally will pass when he gets inside, but can deliver as well.
This Wisconsin team 22-7, finished 3rd in the regular season in the league, 11-5 conference mark. 3-point shot in and out for Wilkinson.
And you can see Wisconsin not going to be a good offensive rebounding team because there is nobody in the low post. Those rebounds will go to the quicker Illinois team.
Loop ahead with the floater in the lane. Illinois 31-1. Its only loss a week ago today at Ohio State. And even with its performance here in the quarters and yesterday in the semifinal, a lot of people feeling like Illinois has not been playing its best ball, even coming out of the loss to Ohio State, a reach-around call against Dee Brown.
Jim, it's kind of interesting to see head scoring there, and the fact that he had 26 points in the game in Illinois that they won rather handily. But is one of the unusual things about him, he did not have a 3-point shot in that game. Was 0 for 3 from 3. Still came up with a big day of 24 points.
He can do anything in a hurry.
Yeah, he can score on the break. He'll drive, as we saw that floater. And then he just hurts you with those outside shots.
Double up on Chambliss. Hansen puts it down low to Tucker. Working on Augustine. Augustine quite a presence there and defends, leading to the miss.
Tucker is going to have to move quickly on Augustine. He won't be able to go over him on a power move.
Augustine at the other end.
Nice job for Illinois to go inside some to Augustine.
Wilkinson down low. Powell on his back, and again they try to double him up.
Boy, there's no cutters on that double. A cutter that time for Hansen. He'd had a layup.
Chambliss wide on a three.
I think they're taking too many outside shots early in this ball game. It gets Illinois into their running game.
E. Brown, he tries the three.
Nice no call by the officials. Two players going for the ball, nobody gaining an advantage.
Hansen from the corner with a three. Yes!
Was Augustine caught on a switch, couldn't get out there in time.
Chambliss and Hansen in that backcourt for Wisconsin have struggled mightily from the floor in the Big Ten, coming in just 2 out of 15 from the field in the Big Ten tournament, but Hansen knocks down that one.
You know, it's interesting. Chambliss played in the Big Ten, as everybody knows, for Penn State for 2 years and led actually their club. There's a good putback by Powell. Led the Big Ten in free throw shooting 2 of those years, Jim, and now finds himself as an erratic shooter and not a really great free throw shooter. That's very unusual. Once you have that technique, you figure you're a keeper.
Chambliss, you'll find him in the Big Ten record book, top 10 that is, in three-pointers made.
As a Penn State player.
I was going to say the bulk of that coming over in State College.
You see how Augustine has to go out with Tucker almost playing him as a guard, and so far Tucker has not been able to deliver.
Powell. What a nice shot, and he had the power move on the previous trip down the floor. They pulled down the offensive rebound and a putback over the head. Powell's very underrated. When you look at this group.
For the game in Illinois, he was 0 for 2 in that contest, so coming up early in this ball game is a factor. And he is the one fella on the floor, along with Wilkinson, who have made all Big Ten tournament. Wilkinson doing it last year, Powell 2 years ago.
Taylor steps up, and it's Luther Head underneath.
Wisconsin really settling for a lot of jump shots.
Head steps right up. Didn't put it on the floor. Too long with that one, and Wilkinson with the rebound. Wilkinson and D. Brown of Illinois, the only 2 unanimous all Big Ten selections this year. Of course, 3 of the starting 5 from Illinois made that first team.
Oh, we got 4 of the 5 out here on the floor right now.
Only one missing is Greer of Minnesota.
Vincent Greer, outstanding and played very well the other day.
Chambliss, that one down and out.
Here comes Williams, where he's so tough. Look at that stop. It's amazing a guy with his weight and power to be able to stop at a dime like that.
Either head back over to Augustine. And Illinois looking awfully savvy here at the start.
Well, Hansen fell down, and look at what's coming in from the sidelines, Jim.
Timeout called by Wisconsin. They're going to bring in 3 subs after the break as Illinois goes on a 7-0 run. Let's take a look at today's Applebee's neighborhood favorite. Back in 2000 in the NCAAs, a pair of Big Ten teams met in the Elite 8. Wisconsin and Purdue out west. West Regional Final. Roy Boone scored 12. 6 in the final 3 minutes. Wisconsin, the lowest seed to advance to the Final Four since LSU in '86. Went on to win it, only to fall to another Big Ten team, Michigan State, at the Final Four. It was Augustine getting the pass from Luther Head.
What happened, Hansen got caught on a screen and stayed out, tried to fight his way over it. That let Augustine, who set the screen, wide open. Good job for Head to recognize.
All right, look at the subs in now for Wisconsin. Inbounding will be Zach Morley, who you could argue is positioned here with a big game today to get consideration for player of the tournament if Wisconsin won this thing, and he played like he did the first 2 games. They've also brought in Michael Flowers, number 22, and Ray Nixon, number 4.
Nixon's had some pretty good success against Illinois coming off the bench. Morley just wasn't a major factor in either game. As you said, Jim, he has been the man of the hour here. He's being guarded by Williams now. Williams giving up size, but not strength.
Lift their head with the steal.
Wisconsin has to be very careful here not to get themselves in a situation where they get Illinois on a roll. Illinois has not played that effectively in this tournament, turning the ball over an awful lot, but they've been very efficient today.
Ingram into the lineup for Illinois, number 50.
Who was a major factor in the win up at Wisconsin with those 2 3-point shots.
Very solid contributor, the big man getting it inside. Run around too strong, and Wilkinson crashes the boards.
That was a tough situation for Taylor to be caught on him, giving up a lot of size. Now, Morley hasn't been guarded by a smaller man in this tournament.
Morley with 23 points in the win against Ohio State and 17 yesterday against Iowa.
You can see Williams doing a lot of pushing.
Nixon, nice move, and gets it to go off the glass soft break.
Nixon hit 3 of 6 from the 3-point range in that loss at Wisconsin. As I said, he's played very well against Illinois.
That breaks a 4-minute drought for the Badgers. In front of the rim for Williams. And it's Wisconsin ball with a break on the floor. 11-7 start here for the Illini. Looking to take home that trophy.
Jimmy, they're going to be fireworks everywhere here in about 2:16:16.
Wow, how did you do that so fast? Make all those X's.
Those are the fireworks. They were explosions.
Hey, we had a buzzer beater here yesterday. Let's hope something we're going to see a whole lot of coming up in the weeks ahead. Well, Rondo Tucker knocking out Iowa.
Well, Jim, most coaches start talking about a second per dribble, and you can go ahead and occupy, let's say 5 or 6 feet for pushing that ball up. Tucker got every bit of that and released it at the perfect time.
Iowa eliminated. Heartbreaking loss, but Hawkeyes in some eyes a bubble team, Billy, for the tournament. I think they're in.
Oh, I agree. I agree. And not only in, I think they're a team that will be very dangerous. Got good inside post presence, some excellent outside shooting, good ball handling.
Morley. And pulled away by the Illini. I like what I saw with them, and I see great prospects for next year, too, for
Absolutely.
Alford's got a bunch that's coming back, everybody back.
And it's not like Alford hasn't been in the NCAA tournament before as both coach and player.
McBride, number 33 for Illinois, seeing action. He can fire it from the outside.
Well, I thought Williams was going to try to go baseline. It at the same angle as Brown had.
It's Powell with the putback. Second time. Nope. McBride.
Ooh, almost walked.
Yep. Like he went up and down, but Brown gets it. Dishes. Powell. And with all those attempts from the inside, you'll have to try to settle this trip at the free throw line. Take a little break on the floor. Loop ahead on his side. Up 4 on Wilkinson and Wisconsin. All right, somebody cue the bubble machine.
Well, Jimmy, what do you think here? Iowa, I think they're in. UAB, that's a little bubble. I think Maryland's out. DePaul out. NC State, I think they're in.
Yeah, I do too.
Iowa State, I think they're in. Memphis, I think they're out. So
UAB, you're not sure about.
Yeah, I've got one bubbler there. I think the others have probably sealed their fate.
I like UAB to make it. I want to be close.
Well, you know,
they don't factor in what they did in last year's tournament.
Well,
of course, they shocked Kentucky.
Hey, how about this? There's a possibility now with Duke winning, they're going to be a #1. Maryland, who we had out of there, has beaten Duke twice this year. Has there ever been a situation where a guy in the #1 line has been beaten twice in the same year, home and away, by a guy that doesn't even get in the tournament, that is working on 11 straight NCAA tournament bids?
Can't imagine that's ever happened. Wilkinson with the putback into the line. So do you think Maryland deserves to get in? Is that what you're saying?
I don't think they do, based on particularly on their performance coming down the stretch, but that will be a trivia question for the future.
And I know you're just ready to query Chairman Bowlesby and about that possibility that Maryland, if it's on the outside, when you start looking at maybe some of these mid-majors or smaller conference teams that are going to be in, and how would they do if they were, say, ACC teams?
Well, you know,
ACC.
Fortunately, we decide the National Basketball Championship by playing as opposed to voting, so that this is an exercise just to get into the tournament. You've got to earn your way there. But that is a question that I certainly hope they asked when it got down to the last few teams. What would happen if they played in the same league against the same kind of competition night in, night out?
Like at Northern Iowa, which is another bubble team. Might make it. Here's Ingram.
Nice move.
Yeah, working hard, and he able to get rewarded.
Ingram has kind of moved ahead of Smith a little bit in regard to this rotation. And although Smith has got the size, Ingram is much more versatile as an offensive player.
Smith is about to come in for the first time, and Augustine will return along with Luther Head. It's going the other way. It's going against Wisconsin.
That's McBride who did the push.
All right, let's talk about #1 seeds. And I'm going to say there's a team that's going to be a 1 seed that's not even on this list.
I think there's a team right there today that worked their way out of that #1 seed position.
Illinois, North Carolina, obviously locks. I think Duke's in.
This team last year I thought belonged in the #1 seed, and I'll tell you right now, I believe that they're one of the 4 best teams in the country. But Jim, you don't think they're going to be on that one line?
I think they're one of the best 4 teams too. I agree with you, but I don't think that the late season play is going to end up giving them a #1 seed. I think Washington might be able to sneak in there now that Kentucky's lost. What do you think? Won the Pac-10 last night, 27-5.
Well, Wilkinson needs to recognize Williams guarding him. He had low post position and didn't get it.
Chambliss missing on another 3.
Well, that's 3 that Chambliss has missed on so far, Jim, and every one of them went right down inside and came out. Didn't get the soft touch.
Williams, he wants it, gets it.
Pretty good defense against him. Williams has nice range, and he's very selective as to when he takes the 3. You very seldom see him take a bad shot on the perimeter.
And Illinois now has doubled up the Badgers. We're shooting only 21%.
And we're talking about a team that normally shoots 44, and against Illinois in 2 games has averaged 46%. So Illinois doing a real good job. Shots not falling right now, particularly for Chambliss.
Flowers lost focus, and the ball turned over back to Illinois, and back in is Cameron Taylor for Flowers.
Illinois doing a nice job going to the bench. Powell getting the rest, Ingram getting the rest. Nice rotations here. It's been really a team effort. It hasn't just been this perimeter play that's controlled this game.
Nick Smith, the 7-footer. And a travel call on Luther Head. You know, you made a good case for Oklahoma State, and obviously no one wants to see them in their bracket, but you didn't respond when I had said Washington maybe is a 1. What do you think?
I think that they could certainly make a case for it. And the West Coast, with everybody talking Arizona, Gonzaga, Washington has moved themselves into a very solid program.
Beat Arizona a couple of times this year, including last night in the Pac-10 championship. Arizona.
Where are the points going to come from? I think that they've got to get Tucker the ball some more. Let him go on Augustine. Finally.
Yep, Taylor with the 3.
In the ball game, you remember last year, Jim, in Indy, Wisconsin took control of Illinois, just kind of like this is in reverse here today. They were just a far superior team early on and really forced Illinois to take bad shots.
Augustine to the basket.
This Illinois team today looks like the one that earned their way to the #1 spot.
Much sharper than we had seen here on this floor the last 2 days. Wisconsin needs to get Tucker going, as you mentioned. He's 0 for 3, and now he walks. So a break on the floor with Illinois looking strong at the start.
Step your game up. Gon' come on in the double. Step your game up. Drop it to the floor and just step your game up. You wish you finna step your game up.
Selection Sunday continues in Chicago. And Billy, what do you see here?
Well, Jim, in the 2 games these 2 teams have played against each other, in both games, they both shot 46%. You can see that Illinois right on target, but Wisconsin having all kinds of problems getting their shooting percentage up. And Morley's back in the ball game now. Tucker is out of there. I think they may have to go with Morley, Wilkinson, and Tucker and forget about worrying about guarding this 3-guard lineup from Illinois and see if they can get some points on the board. They're getting killed on the boards, and they're not scoring.
Williams, and a check foul called against
Chambliss on the reach.
And that's Chambliss. And near the conclusion of this game, we'll select the Chevrolet player of the game from each team to honor their determination and outstanding play. Chevrolet makes a $1,000 contribution to each university's general scholarship fund. Chevy, the American Revolution, continues its support of the NCAA athletics. Nixon back in for Wisconsin.
Sometimes you have players that just seem to play well against certain teams. Beautiful spin.
Unable to finish, though. Powell, he has worked hard in this one. Made all Big Ten tournament 2 years ago on this floor. Taylor pull up.
No offensive rebounds. Illinois controlling the paint inside. There was a bad pass. The Panson hadn't hit it. They've gone out of bounds. Nice break for Illinois. This is the kind of matchup Head wants. He's quicker.
D. Brown sets up the 3.
You don't see that often from this team, Jim. Very seldom does Illinois, any of their players, dribble the ball and slow things down. That ball is usually moving.
And you take the top 3 players for Wisconsin in this tournament. Morley, Wilkinson, and Tucker. They are a combined 0 for 6 from the field.
And Tucker's not on the floor as we speak.
Over to Morley.
Blocked.
Blocked by Augustine.
Boy, Augustine covers a lot of territories and understands how to take position. And he's a great double down man. Powell getting good position down there.
Their head on the drive. Comes up shy, and Morley underneath.
I thought Morley fouled Head on that play. And a good block out by Powell to set a lane for Head. He just couldn't convert.
Defensively, Wisconsin's buttoned down here the last couple of trips.
But where do their points come from, Jim?
They got to get it from their main guys like Wilkinson.
They're taking jump shots. Very little cutting. Very little low post action. Tucker coming back in the game. I think that's a good move.
Foul before the shot. Talk about Augustine doing so many things well.
Without question, Jim. This guy has developed into one of the premier players. He doesn't get the credit because there's so much high profile. You got 3 all-conference first-teamers that he's playing with, but he is a very solid college player.
Warren Carter has come in as Augustine will get a little rest. Carter number 41 for Illinois. Ingram back on the floor as well. And we see Flowers return to the Wisconsin lineup along with Tucker.
Jim, back to Augustine for a second. He leads the Big Ten in field goal shooting percentage, 6th in blocks and 7 in rebounds, and very seldom occupies the ball, which really enables that guard combo to work.
Ingram off the feed from Brown. And Illinois has a 10-point lead for the first time today.
Ingram is on Morley. This gives Morley the first opportunity to take his man. Playing bigger man on him ought to have some quickness advantage.
Traveling called. Reinforced by Coach Weber from the bench.
Yeah, did a pretty nice job refereeing. And he's done a pretty nice job this year taking a team that had a lot of focus on him in the Big Ten. And with the exception of the Ohio State game, didn't have one single blemish in their way.
It's Brown. And Morley pulls it down. I like that comment that Bo Ryan made yesterday to you about Zach Morley's play the last 2 games. He said something to the effect of, want to check his DNA and make sure it's really Morley the way he's played. Big rebound at the other end. Let's see if he can get on track offensively. Here he is, Morley.
Well, they've got it inside and can't get anything to fall. How about that crossover?
Rejection. Tucker. They'll have none of that.
Tucker's running.
And taken away by Ingram.
How about the solid play by Ingram off the bench?
5 turnovers committed by the Badgers. They've made only 4 shots. 4 out of 19 and 5 turnovers.
And they had 16 assists and only 6 turnovers yesterday. So not the ball club that we saw in that fine victory over Iowa.
Good board by Flowers. Hard to imagine we're 16.5 minutes into this game. Tucker, Wilkinson, and Morley yet to make a shot from the field. They've gone as a team now over 5 minutes without a field goal.
You know, Jim, I'm going to give a lot of credit to that, to this Illinois defense. They have done a fine job matching up. Powell now on Tucker inside.
5 on the shot clock. Ingram on Flowers. He has to put it up. Kept alive, Morley, and no whistle. Morley thought he was fouled. It's Brown off and running.
Team changes a little bit with Williams out of there ball handling wise, doesn't it? And speaking of Illinois, he's taking a little break. He's coming right back in. He and Augustine are on the sidelines. They don't have that same fluid motion, however, when he's not on the floor.
No question. 12 points for Wisconsin in 17.5 minutes.
And this is a good matchup. Powell on Tucker.
Morley fires the 3, and there he goes at last.
But you know what, Jim? When you're down 22-15 and have gone on a drought for this long, that's only 7 points. Now, I realize this game's not going to be played in the 80s, but to hang in there this long is pretty good.
You'd think they would have been blown off the floor by now.
Absolutely.
It's just gone 6 minutes without a hoop till the 3 by Morley. All right, a little speculation about bids to the big conferences, and you see 6, Billy. Oh, what's this, 7?
I'm going 7. I think that team that would make them 7 is Notre Dame.
Don't think so.
Oh, I think Notre Dame's getting in there.
Bet you a cheeseburger on that one.
Oh, boy.
Big 12, you got 6?
Well, you know, that one, I think so. I think Iowa State's in there.
Okay.
I think the Big East is going to get that 7th team. You going to tell me that there are 34 at-larges better than Notre Dame? Look at some of their wins. I realize they did them on their home court. Brian, that's a pretty good ball club.
Yep.
Good guards, senior leadership in the backcourt. Some power players we saw control in the paint, Connecticut. And not many teams can do that.
I thought they needed to get 1 game in the Big East tournament. Smith. Hook shot.
Good blocked out by Butch.
Butch into the game for the first time. 6'11" freshman from Appleton.
Now with 1:40 to go, you need 2 good possessions here for Wisconsin. Augustine, let's see what he can do with Tucker.
Tucker had that big second half yesterday, including the game winner. You made the good point going to the break, Billy. This has the tenor of this has the feeling of a blowout, but it's anything but.
Yeah, this is the kind of game you're supposed to be ahead double.
Timeout on the floor, Wisconsin ball when we come back. Inside of 2 hours till we get things going with the selection show and the exclusive live announcement of the field for the road to St. Louis, the March to the Arch, some are calling it.
Jim, one of the things that Illinois has not shot well from the outside. They're 11 for 40 from three-point line in this tournament. In a game like this, you'd have expected them to explode a little bit from 3 and get this margin up a little bit, but they haven't been able to do it.
Kick on Williams. Ed Hightower just re-emphasizes to Darren Williams, points to his left ankle.
I think Williams got it with the hand and then with the foot. So he really has a point where I did get it with a hand, but he also did give it with a foot. Good job by the official to pick it up. Illinois is only 2 for 8 from 3 today, and that's when you get those working margins for a team that's so good out there on the perimeter.
Keep thinking Tucker's going to get something going. There he goes. Way off on that one.
Wow, that ball was not blocked, and he did not hit his arm. Was that just a shot? It's hard to believe.
We've got the singular at the half coming with Greg, Clark, and Seth. Scores and highlights, and the latest tournament news coming up. Iowa saying right now back at home. Where was that yesterday?
Yeah.
Augustine again in the right place.
Bush went up. He anticipated the play perfectly, but then he didn't make a strong grab of the ball. Turn it into an assist. That should have been Wisconsin ball.
Final 30 seconds of the first half with a 9-point Illinois lead.
Oh, great defense that time by Williams.
Smith with the reject.
They are playing hard-nosed defense.
Hansen with the 3. Yes, that's a big one.
How about that? Two teams get breaks after the other guy plays good defense.
Never believe it. It's only a 6-point lead for Illinois. Final 10 seconds of the half.
A 6-point lead, and the score where Wisconsin probably likes it as far as the tempo of the game.
Oh, yes. Williams with the shot. We've reached the half. With Illinois leading 26-18. And let's go to New York and Greg Gumbel.
All right, thanks, guys. Coming up on Singular at the Half, Clark Kellogg and Seth Davis join me for updates on all the conference championship action and the latest tournament news after this message and a word from your local station.
CBS Sports coverage of the Big Ten Conference Tournament is sponsored by Michelin, a better way forward. The first ever G6 and Pontiac, official performance machines of the NCAA. And by Allstate. Are you in good hands?
Before we begin the second half, take a look at the stats. And one thing that stands out, Dee Brown, the Big Ten Player of the Year, without a made shot from the field, 0 for 6. Field goal percentages are low, particularly for Wisconsin.
Jim, 24% will get you nowhere, but if you look up at the score, and I keep talking about this, only down 8 points, shooting 24%. That's got to make you feel like you've got a shot to get back in this thing.
Well, Hansen hitting a couple of threes.
Now here is the great move without the ball. Nice screen down in low.
Billy, this is your Pontiac game changer. Go ahead.
Here's Augustine going and setting a good screen. Ball hit. Now you see Head taking off to the basket. Wisconsin, Wilkerson not sure what to do. He makes his move. It's too late. Good bounce pass for the score.
Billy, I talked about Dee Brown not making a shot in that first half, and look at the shot chart for Dee.
Yeah, and those shots out on the perimeter were wide open looks, Jim. He didn't hit him. He's 0 for 6 right now. Not characteristic for this young man.
3 assists, but blanked in the first half.
And he has not shot well. He was 2 for 9 for 3 yesterday, 2 for 12 overall, and now that's so he's 2 of his last 18 shots.
Well, we have a moment before the second half begins. Let's go back and look at some of the other bubble teams, Billy. We continue to look through the field, and St. Mary's, I got to think St. Mary's is in.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think that St. Joe's is probably out. GW lost there. That was probably going to be a one-team conference this year. I really don't have a handle on the Buffaloes, the Northern Iowas. You like to see teams who have had good success, which they've had. What's really amazing, Jim, is the RPI of those teams is really outstanding.
In the past, if you were in the top 40, like Buffalo is, like Miami, Ohio is,
right,
you would get in. I mean, there wouldn't even be any question about it. But again, the RPI was tweaked here in the last 6 months, waiting now a road win and also a bigger penalty for a home loss.
Right, and to give the mid-major schools an opportunity, because you know that they're not going to get the power teams to come to their place to play. So I think it was a good intention by the committee, but I think it's the time to sit down and just say who would win a game between Buffalo and Team X. I think you've got to make some gut decisions there, and I'm sure they are.
There are those out there, as everyone has an opinion over this weekend. If Buffalo is going to make the field. You see it?
Yeah, I'm not the guy to ask, Jim. I really am not. I really have not seen their team play, and I would go ahead and defer to the guy that's seen them play on multiple occasions and has also seen some teams play in the power conference and just say, who knows basketball, and said, you know, I think Team A would beat Team B if they played a 5-game series. I think that's what it gets down to, more of a gut call than it is any kind of statistical comparison, because there aren't many.
All right, Billy, with again the second half, Illinois leading by 8.
The other thing Illinois has to feel good about in this ball game, although they're not shooting well and they're not getting the big game out of ground, they've only turned it over twice.
Augustine works the baseline, get it back up to 10.
They had 39 turnovers in the 2 previous Big Ten games, but only turned it over twice, more in keeping with the way they handle the ball. And that's what's put them in a solid position to have a nice working margin here.
Tucker trying to get on track, and too strong as Augustine stood his ground.
Great defense by Augustine.
Inside Powell, and the ball last touched by Illinois, they say. Back to the Badgers. Well, we saw Tucker miss on that first trip of the half, and again, Morley made a 3, but Morley, Wilkinson, and Tucker combined now are 1 for 13 from the field.
Jim, I think that Wisconsin is going to have to get Morley in the game with Tucker and Wilkinson to get some points and not worry about defending Illinois on the outside and the perimeter. Just Tucker, somebody's going to have to be the 3rd player in the backcourt.
There's Tucker and his first 2.
Good movement without the ball.
And a great pass by Wilkinson for the assist. Talking about with Wilkinson, the winningest player in Wisconsin history. And he's the next now that has to get off that poor start from the field and head walk. And that is the call. Everything you need to fill out your brackets on CBS Sportsline. They have bracket games, printable brackets, all the latest news. It's all right there. Just click on brackets at cbssportsline.com.
Well, Jim, many times when you playing against a team that's had such a good record as Illinois, as a coach, what you try to do is to match up with them. And that is not working today. And so maybe it's time to see if they can match up with you. And that's why I'm saying that lineup, it would be an unusual lineup for Wisconsin of Morley, Tucker, and Wilkinson. Maybe makes Illinois have to make some changes.
It's the second foul call on D. Brown. I mentioned Wilkinson, along with Clayton Hansen, a senior. They are the winningest class in the history of Wisconsin basketball. 90 wins in their 4 years. It's Chambliss, and he rattles it home for a 3.
Boy, in the first half, you remember he had 3 good looks like that from 3. They just wouldn't drop for him. Powell and Tucker, nice matchup inside. About equal in size. Powell a little bit stronger. Boy, he's backing down. He wants the ball. They won't fight. They won't give him the ball.
Williams, pure.
You know, Jim, as a sophomore, you remember when he broke that jaw and came back? Well, part of that comeback was a 31-point performance against Wisconsin. He was known primarily as a ball hunter, not a shooter coming out of high school. But he's shown he can do it all.
Wilkinson rejected underneath. Badgers maintain control with 17 minutes to go, 31-23. Wisconsin putting up only 18 in the first half. That's a season low for them. Luther head back to the bench. McBride takes his position on the floor. It's Tucker driving and rejected. Augustine, and last touched by Tucker.
What a great timing block that time by Augustine. He is really an outstanding athlete. Quick, and even though he's playing against the smaller forward, he timed that beautifully.
He has 3 blocks in the game. Been their best player on the floor in this one. Powell. Right back to Powell. Somehow that one doesn't drop. And the whistle on the Badgers. After all these conference tournaments, the last week, and a number of the top teams falling early. Look at the top 25 teams with win streaks going into the tournament.
How about this? Syracuse, that was really on a roll going in the wrong direction, now becomes one of the winningest teams in the country by winning the Big East tournament and being, hey, we've won 3 in a row. Does that sound possible?
Well, you had Washington there.
Yeah.
There's a 3-game win streak. It's interesting, the debate they had in the studio at halftime, Seth and Clark. Seth had them on the 3 line, those Huskies who are
no way they're on
the RPI.
No, there's no way they're on the 3 line.
I still got them as a 1.
Yeah, I think they're the 4-5 team.
Clark had them as a 2.
Yeah,
you think they're the 4-5?
They're either the last guy on the first line or the first guy in the second.
What's interesting about that, Billy, of course, this is something you were calling for a long time, to seed all the teams. And last year, as we see a travel call on Taylor, last year they did that, and the 4-5 ended up being St. Joe's
and Oklahoma
State, and they met in that regional final.
Right. Now, they only seeded 1 through 4. I want to see them seed 1 all the way through 65.
And you'd also like to see some adjustments down the line.
Well, no, then just let it play out. And when you get to the Final Four, the highest seeded team plays the lowest seeded team that gets there.
At the Final Four, you're looking for that adjustment.
Right. Williams, oh boy, he is so unselfish.
McBride, though, he gets to 3.
And they needed McBride to get alive. He's been in a slump lately. Williams, who is so unselfish, making the extra pass. Because you're right, Jim, he had room to take his jump shot. And has been hitting them. Starting to widen this margin up right now, and since Wisconsin has not shown they can put a lineup on the floor that scores, this is a big spread.
You talk about a margin, widening the margin. It's the largest of the game, 12-point lead.